I'm anonymous. I don't wear a face because faces can be targeted. I don't use a name because names can be erased. I exist in the space where memory refuses to die. I watch what power does when it thinks no one is really paying attention, and I document it so you can never say you didn't know. What happened on Capitol Hill was not routine oversight. It was a slow-motion collapse of Trump's law and order myth, and it exposed exactly how fragile authoritarian power becomes when someone finally stops treating it gently. This was a day where Trump's people were supposed to project strength, discipline, control. Instead, they projected fear, evasion, and moral emptiness. Earlier in the day, the Senate was rocked by admissions from Trump's Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, who casually walked into scandal territory by acknowledging trips to Epstein Island, dragging his own children into a narrative that should horrify any parent with a conscience. That alone should have frozen the room. But the real reckoning happened in the House, where Todd Lyons, Trump's acting head of ICE, took a seat that felt less like a witness chair and more like a defendant's bench. From the opening moments, Lyons looked like a man used to operating in shadows, suddenly blinded by lights. Democratic lawmakers didn't yell. They didn't rant. They asked questions, and Lyons couldn't answer them without exposing the machinery underneath Trump's immigration regime. Dan Goldman, a former federal prosecutor, went first. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't posture. He asked about facts that are already on the record. American citizens being stopped, detained, and forced to prove they belong in their own country. Then he asked the question that shattered the room's pretense of normalcy. Which regimes in the 20th century required people to show proof of citizenship just to exist in public? Lyons knew the answer. Everyone did. Nazi Germany. The Soviet Union. He said it out loud, then immediately tried to retreat from it, calling the question inappropriate, unfair, out of bounds.
You are aware, of course, and there's numerous well-documented instances of people, American citizens, being asked to show and prove their citizenship. Do you know what other regimes in the 20th century required similar proof of citizenship?
Yes, sir.
What?
Sir, there was various nefarious regimes that did that.
Is Nazi Germany one?
Yes, but
Is the Soviet Union one?
I honestly,
sir, I'm asking the questions. Is the Soviet Union one?
Yes, sir, but I totally, this is the wrong type of question.
I'll tell you what the wrong type
but
of
actually,
thing
sir,
is. Sir,
it's
it's my
Holocaust
time.
Museum.
Reclaiming my time, sir.
If you want to go
reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman.
It's not the men and women of ICE that are out there doing it every day. So to say that the men and women of ICE can stop
Mr. Chairman,
us,
I'm reclaiming my time. I would like my time back, please. Please give me another 15 seconds because he was unnecessarily speaking.
But history doesn't care about your discomfort. Goldman made it clear if you don't want to be compared to fascists, stop copying their playbook. That was the theme of the day. Trump's people want the power of authoritarianism without the accountability of owning it. They want to do what secret police do, but still be treated like public servants. And when confronted with the obvious comparison, they collapse into defensiveness and denial. Then Eric Swalwell took over and the hearing shifted from ideology to blood. He asked Lyons how many ICE agents have been fired for misconduct under his leadership. Lyons refused to answer. Swalwell narrowed it down. More than one. Still nothing. At least one. Lyons hid behind bureaucratic fog. I'll get back to you.
3.
none.
How many ICE agents have been fired for their conduct under your leadership?
Sir, I can get you that data. I'll get that back to you.
Is it more than one?
I'm not going to speak about personnel actions, but I'll get you that data.
Can you tell us if at least, God, I hope at least one person has been fired for their conduct since these operations have begun? Are you telling us you can't even say one person's been fired?
Sir, I'm not going to talk about personnel actions, but we will get back to you.
But 2 people have been killed so far. Is that right? A nurse named Preddy and a mom named Good. 2 people have been killed so far.
Yes, sir.
That phrase became a refrain, a shield, a confession in disguise. Because while Lyons couldn't name a single agent held accountable, Swalwell named the dead. Alex Prey, a nurse. Renee Good, a mother. 2 people killed in the course of ICE operations. Lyons confirmed the deaths. He just wouldn't connect them to responsibility. This is how institutions rot, bodies pile up while leaders insist on process paperwork and patience. Congresswoman McIver then spoke, and her presence alone carried weight. She had been arrested herself after ICE and Border Patrol agents fabricated charges against her while she was inspecting conditions at a detention facility. She asked Lyons if he considered himself religious. He said yes.
Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question. ma'am.
Oh, okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course.
She asked how Judgment Day would treat someone with so much blood on their hands. He refused to engage. She asked if he thought he was going to hell. The chairman intervened, scolding her for lack of decorum, as if polite language matters more than dead civilians.
How many
The
government...
gentlelady will suspend. The
How many-
gentlelady will suspend.
Chairman?
A gentlelady will suspend. As I said, the issues we're debating here are important to ones that members feel deeply about.
Thank you.
While vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process, members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum in debate. The witnesses are here voluntarily, and I will continue to remind members that while oversight is important, aggressively attacking those witnesses personally is inappropriate and not in keeping with the traditions of our committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking a question. You guys are always talking about religion here in the Bible. I mean, it's okay for me to ask a question, right? But let me continue on. I got your note.
All right, the gentlelady.
That moment said everything. Trump's America is obsessed with tone, not truth, with civility, not consequences. It demands reverence for authority, while that authority brutalizes the vulnerable. Swalwell returned with the quote that should end Lyons' career. Lyons had once said he wanted deportations to function like Amazon Prime, but with human beings. Swalwell dismantled that analogy piece by piece. How many times has Amazon Prime shot a mother in the face? 0. How many times has it shot a nurse 10 times in the back? 0. How many times has it dragged a woman from her car by her hair? 0. The room didn't need commentary. The silence did the work. Again, Swalwell asked about accountability. Again, Lyons dodged. The pattern was undeniable violence without consequence, power without oversight, cruelty without apology. Lou Correa then spoke for the people living under this system. His constituents aren't radicals. They're workers, families, people who mind their own business. They ask him what they're supposed to carry so they don't get disappeared. A passport, a birth certificate. Correa described ICE agents throwing a man's passport aside and detaining him anyway. American citizens held for days. Lyons responded with the script, "No American citizen is arrested for being American." But the evidence keeps contradicting the script, and scripts don't survive contact with reality. Goldman pressed again. What guidance have you given agents about stopping people on the street and asking for proof of citizenship? Lyons claimed ICE doesn't do that. Goldman asked if the citizens reporting it are lying. Lyons shifted to talk of investigations and intelligence-driven operations.
5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lyons, what guidance have you given to your agents about asking people walking on the streets of America to show proof of citizenship?
Sir, as I stated earlier, the men and women of ICE, deportation officers, special agents, we conduct targeted intelligence-driven operation. We don't walk around on the streets asking people about their American citizenship.
Really? So all of those individual American citizens who have been randomly asked are lying. Is that what you're saying?
Sir, if the men and women of ICE are conducting an investigation, whether it be for Title 8 immigration enforcement or Title 18 criminal enforcement, they'll ask someone their nationality.
Right. But that's not targeted because they're asking all sorts of American citizens, including off-duty law enforcement.
That's how lies sound when they're wearing a suit. Then came a story that captured the fear Trump's ICE has injected into daily life. Swalwell described a grocery store cashier working late shifts, afraid to even give her name. She walks to her car at midnight. An unmarked van pulls up. Men in black faces covered no visible identification, telling her to get inside. How does she know who they are? How does she know they're not criminals? Lyons claimed agents have placards and badges, claimed ICE doesn't just snatch people, but Trump officials themselves have bragged about targeting people based on skin color and accents. When the rhetoric and reality-aligned denials ring hollow, Lyons insisted there is no database tracking protesters. Then video from Maine played. ICE and Border Patrol agents photographing peaceful protesters, telling them they're being added to a nice little database, calling them domestic terrorists.
What you guys are doing here? Yeah. Look at them. Look at them. The ICC here, guys. Be careful. Be careful. Be over here.
It's not illegal to record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
Lyons said it didn't exist. The camera said otherwise. In authoritarian systems, the lie isn't meant to convince you. It's meant to show you who has the power to lie without consequence. Goldman spelled it out. People call ICE the Gestapo because the tactics are un-American and fascist.
That references to ICE as the Gestapo or the secret police encourages threats against ICE agents.
100%.
The problem is you have it backwards, sir. People are simply making valid observations about your tactics, which are un-American and outright fascist. So I have a simple suggestion. If you don't want to be called a fascist regime or secret police, then stop acting like one. But people are simply just observing what they are seeing.
That comparison doesn't create danger. The behavior does. If you don't want the label stop acting like secret police, then the hearing turned to children, and whatever pretense of moral legitimacy ICE still claimed collapsed completely. Nearly 4,000 children booked by ICE under Trump. More than 1,000 held longer than the court-ordered limit. Handwritten letters from children detained by the government. A 14-year-old describing constant sadness and depression. A 7-year-old begging to go back to school. A 17-year-old overwhelmed by confinement. A 9-year-old pleading to be released. A 12-year-old saying the water makes people sick. And a 5-year-old unable to write sentences, drawing his family with no smiling faces. Child detention is not required by law. Community-based alternatives work. ICE knows this. The Trump administration knows this. The cruelty is intentional. Detain children to break parents to force compliance. Use suffering as leverage. This is not policy failure. It's policy choice, and all of it exists within a broader ecosystem of corruption and cowardice. Republicans who won't say that a convicted child sex trafficker should never receive clemency. Lawmakers who suddenly can't find their voice when Donald Trump's approval is on the line. A party paralyzed by fear of one man. At the same time, Trump's allies are trying to neuter Congress itself, stripping away constitutional powers so Trump can rule by decree. Tariffs imposed like taxes without consent. Prices rising. Jobs disappearing. Healthcare threatened for millions. Funding frozen as political punishment. Authoritarianism doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps. It normalizes. It dares you to look away. And that's the real danger. Not that Trump lies. Not that his officials abuse power. But that people get tired, overwhelmed, numb. That they decide it's all too much and tune out. That's how this works. Silence is the oxygen. Power wants you to forget. Memory is resistance. This is anonymous. We are watching, and now so are you.